This is a very interesting video for me to make for a couple of reasons. I'm usually relatively shy, especially when it comes to talking about finances, just because of how I was raised. Grew up on a farm, relatively frugal, and we didn't talk about finances with other people. Growing up and having studied finance in college, and with the industry that I'm in now, I talk a lot more about finances. And I view the transparency very important to me. So, and the reason why I brought this up is because I've invested a lot of money and my wife, Kenda, has also invested a lot of money into coaching for ourselves. You can call it post secondary education, whatever you want to call it. But we've spent an absurd amount of money on it. And I want to break it down. It does embarrass me a little bit because, to be frank, we've spent more than what a lot of Americans make in a year on coaching. So there's that aspect. In return, we've also been able to grow our business and hire more employees. Over the last 3 years, I've spent over $200,000 on coaching. And this has ranged from people who have worked or been a part of Taylor Swift's marketing team to relatively big online high ticket coaching to sales coaching to everyone in between, people just starting out, real estate coaching, a lot of different things. And I want to go over the biggest things that I have learned. The number one thing is that if you're going to hire a coach and you want to get results from your coach, you have to be committed. You have to show up every single day. You have to do what they say. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes you think you know your business better, but guess what? They've been in business longer than you. And if you're hiring the right coach, they know your business better than you know it. You have to listen to them. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes they're going to tell you things that you don't want to do, and you're just going to have to do it and trust them, because if not, it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I can say that confidently because I have not done things for months, and it has cost me tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars by not doing it in the first place when they told me to do it. On the flip side, I've also coached people and provided consulting services to people where it has cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars by not listening to what I said. And that's the thing about coaching, is when you hire someone to guide you, they're a third-party perspective. They are your master Yoda. As Luke Skywalker, you don't think you can lift the X-Wing out of the swamp because you don't believe in yourself. But Master Yoda knows how easy it is to do that and can show you and guide you along the way of learning how to actually do that. And that's one of the hardest things if you do hire coaching or a coach, is learning how to trust them, or a consultant. I mean, coaching and consultant. I honestly feel like today they're two sides of the same coin in the online space. The other thing is, and I hate to say this, but I've done it a couple of times now. And for the most part, a lot of the coaches that we've worked with, the relationship is best the first time that we work with them. We get the most value, we get the most results. And the issue is usually the second time that we work with them, it's almost as if it's kind of like a one-trick pony show, where we got the most value the first time, and the second time we were just kind of paying a lot of money for the same value that we got the first time. And oftentimes with coaching or consulting, it's information services. So you don't necessarily get a lot more value out of it than you did the first time. And I've usually found that hiring a coach one time and then getting everything you can out from them in that time frame and then moving on to another coach is typically better. I'm not going to say it's always better. There have been some coaches where we worked with them multiple times. There was an increase of value to a certain degree and or level that made it worthwhile. But for the vast majority of times, it has not been worthwhile to work with a coach more than once. I really wish that wasn't the case, and I don't know why that is the case currently in the industry, but it's happened to me enough times that I kind of firmly believe that it's better to get all the information you can from one coach and then go to someone else who is an expert in another area that you're lacking. Because even if you can just get like 70 to 90% proficient in an area, even if you're not like 95, 99%, it's going to get you good enough where you can grow your business to the point where you can hire someone that's in that like 90, 95, 99 percentile range to actually do what you need done in the business. Or, you can always go back to the coach or find another coach that can get you to that 99th percentile. And yeah, that's just one of the really hard things, and one of the things that I've really thought about with coaching. The other thing, going back to showing up, is some coaches are really good at holding you accountable and some aren't. And you have to go into the program and you have to communicate clearly with them. You have to communicate clearly what your goals are, what you want. Otherwise, they might not give you necessarily the best guidance, because if they don't know what your goals are, how can they help you achieve them, right? I spend a lot of time just talking to clients and with clients about what they want and what their goals are, what they want their life to look like, and getting them to actually open up and dive deeper into what that actually means. The other thing is, and this kind of falls on the coattails, is with the coaches that aren't super great at accountable, you have to be able to hold yourself accountable. And as entrepreneurs, that can be one of the hardest things to do. I forgot what statistic I was reading, but an overly high proportion of entrepreneurs have some form of ADHD/OCD. And I think it's really funny. I think part of it is we just have tendencies. You can call it shiny object syndrome. We have tendencies to think the grass is always green on the other side and always be looking for the next opportunity. And if you've ever read the book, The One Thing, you usually get outside returns when you put time and effort into one goal, one objective, one business, one offer, you get better returns. And the really interesting thing about this actually happened when I was still doing door-to-door sales. I was talking to one of the regional managers, and he kind of laid success out for me in this manner, where he said success is a function in math. So such as like y equals x squared. But as you put more time, and like, let's just say, for example, it's y equals t squared. So t is time. But as you put more time into the function of success, your returns increase. And oftentimes it very much looks like and I'm going to butcher the math term here because I'm terrible, but it looks like a drawn out exponential curve where it's flat, 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 and then it just spikes because all of that begins to compound. And that success, all of those little things that you had to get going, all of those small skills, all of those things you had to do better to get to that, let's say 99th percentile where you can perform really well and see those results, they all add up slowly, but once they do, they add up very quickly. And the whole idea of being able to focus on one thing is going to get you to that a lot faster rather than dividing your time amongst multiple functions, because then it takes you even longer. It's kind of like, and a lot of people will also use this analogy of like, let's say you're on an island, right? And especially in the online hustle space, this is phenomenal. But they talk about you have a pipe bringing you water on the island, and it's the only water you have. You're not going to destroy the pipe, but you're building multiple bridges to get off the island. Wouldn't it be faster just to build one bridge to get to the mainland than building 3 bridges at the same time? Well, of course it would. So the question is, why are you trying to drop ship? Why are you trying to be a social media agency? And why are you also trying to be a real estate agent? Pick one, go deep, and actually build a sustainable business where you focus on one product, one offer, and one type of customer. Because once you do that, all of the other complexities of building a business become a lot more simple. You're not trying to figure out multiple different avatars. You're not trying to do multiple different types of branding. You're not trying to learn copywriting for 3 different industries. You're not trying to learn 5 dozen different softwares to make each one of those businesses work. You're just focusing on one, and you're going to get outside returns from that every single time. The other thing is, when it comes to investing, we've spent, like I said, $200K on coaching, and we've made over $3 million organically from that. So if you look at the outsized returns from it, it's roughly 15x. So as much money as we've spent on it, and as scary as it's been, when we invested in our first coach, we couldn't afford it. I was still doing door-to-door sales. We were still both in college. We barely had any money. COVID was still going strong. It was 2021. And Kenda had the social media following, but she didn't know how to monetize it, at least with where we currently at, which was really funny looking back, because she had all the pieces. She just needed to be told what to do. And I think even deep down, because she'd helped other people build brands before and monetize, it was just in different ways with different services. We didn't know how to monetize where we were currently at. And that was the really interesting thing. But we hired a coach that, we'd spent all the money we'd made in the business so far hiring the coach, but then we made all that money back plus so much more in that very first month. It might have been the second month we were working with him, but it happened very, very, very quickly. And it's not always like that with every single coach. And sometimes you hire the wrong coach in the beginning, and that can be really hard. The thing is with information, you can lose a lot of things in life. You can lose partners, children, spouses, cars, trucks, homes, businesses, investments. You can lose literally everything. But the one thing that's really hard to lose is what you know. Of course, you can get dementia. That's towards the end of life. But assuming you're healthy, no one's going to be able to take that education away from you. And as long as you're able to reapply that, even if you hire the wrong coach in the beginning, it might set you back a little bit, but you can still apply that information down the line. And oftentimes, I say it's very rarely that you hire the wrong coach, because we could have hired a dozen different people, and they probably all would have looked at our situation had they had any experience in the online space and advised us to do something similar every single time. But that's just because of where we were at, and what it made sense to do was the same, or I believe would have been the same from multiple perspectives. The other thing that I learned that was really interesting is you don't always necessarily get the same value from spending more money on coaches. And what I mean by that is you can spend $297 on a course and get just as much or more information from a $5,000 to $10,000 course. However, the difference is sometimes, and what made us so successful with our first coach is that we had been like, we were bought in. We were bought into the point that it hurt. It hurt to see that money leave the bank account. We were afraid. We were scared. We had to make it work. We had to figure out how we could get a return on our investment from the money we spent. And when you have an investment like that, and sometimes this works really well for people, but I always recommend, like, if you can invest in yourself just to the point where it hurts a little bit, right? It's really going to make you take that program a lot more seriously. You're going to show up to every single call. You're going to consume all of the content, and you're going to do everything you can to apply it. Versus if you bought that $200 course and you make like $10K a month, like, it's kind of like, for those who drink, I don't drink, it's kind of like, crazy weekend, right? Buying a couple beers, going and staying in a hotel somewhere, weekend trip, getaway, like that type of deal. And it's really hard to be bought in to go through that entire course, which takes your time out of your weekend, to go have a weekend away. And it makes it a lot harder to be bought in and actually apply everything that is in that course versus if you did something that hurt a little bit, like if you make $10K a month and your expenses are $5K and you pull $5K out to go invest in this coach, you're a lot more bought in because you gave up a lot more that month than the $297. And I don't advise you to go invest in coaching where it puts you in a bad spot financially, but I do advise you to invest in coaching where you feel where you're bought in. And for some people, if that's $297, if you've invested $0 before and you think you're throwing $297 away, that's enough. If that's enough for you to go apply it, do it. But that's like the number one thing that's going to make a difference when you're hiring a coach. The other thing is you can really overthink coaches. A lot of the case studies out there, they're just testimonials, and I really don't view them as case studies. Coming from kind of a background in stats and data science is really what I focused on in college. A lot of those case studies really aren't all they're cracked up to be. They're just really glorified reviews. And one of the things that you just have to remember is if they're providing enough value in their free content, you're going to get a good amount of value out of their paid content. And that's typically what we do to judge people we're going to work with is, can we actually look at what they're giving away for free? Can we apply it? Do we get any value or returns out of that? If we do, then it typically makes sense to move forward with them because we know what they teach actually works versus if someone's being super vague or shadowy or like, oh, I can't give away my secrets or whatever, that typically indicates you're not going to get the best value out of their program. And the reason why I say that is most of the time, people give away strategies for free, but they make you pay for the tactics. And sometimes they'll have freebies where they'll give away a couple of tactics or other things. But a lot of times, even like the best people, if they give away tactics and strategies, that means what they're really selling is implementation or community. And both of those can be extremely worthwhile as you're growing your business for either fostering relationships with other companies that you can do business with or get referrals from, actually implementing all of the tactics into your business in a way that will make your business run more efficiently and get more results than you just applying them yourself. If you got any value from this video whatsoever, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It really helps me reach more entrepreneurs just like you.